This is my breeding loft. It's got a little fly pen on it too. I have 8 of the 12, 8 of the 12 pairs, no sorry, 10 of the 12 pairs are in this loft. And as you can see, they're not in separate cages. So if somebody does happen to tread somebody else, then so be it, because I believe every bird in here has potential. And my other 2 pair of breeders that are what I consider my 2 best as far as performance are already locked up in separate cages with their mates, and I'll show you them later. And there's a couple birds here that are mainly for color also, but they have bred me some nice youngsters that actually have flown good too, just probably not as good as the other 2 pairs that I've got separated. I love this red guy, and I really like this guy here. He's a yellow almond, and I locked him up early because he was doing so much performance. I felt he had to be a stock bird to start with, and he definitely will be one of the 6 that I keep. Probably even if his youngsters aren't real consistent, just because I just like this bird, and maybe I'll even fly him again, not sure. Really like this bird too. I think they call that cinnamon or something like that. I call him a ribbon tail, and his mate is the same. That's a brother-sister mating. Then I have a nice almond cockbird, and that's right off my original cockbird that I had way back when I first started, probably close to 10 years ago. And he does throw the odd good one. Just not as consistent as I like, but I love the look of him. And then I have a few almost pure white, but I guess they're probably more grizzle because they still have a few black ticks in them. I've got the mother-son setup right now, as I'm pretty low on families of white, so, and I don't like to breed too many youngsters, so I just take a chance and get a few each year. I've only got actually 1 absolute pure white cockbird off him, and he even has the bull eye, so all the rest have the nice pearl eye, but this particular one does have the bull eye. I think that might be him right there with the bull eye, I think. Doesn't like me. I got him made it to a nice red. Hoping that they'll throw me the odd pure white, we'll see. And this particular bird I've seen in my yard. I had never really pushed him to fly, but he does actually, when he goes from one loft to the other, he'll quite often do a few flips, as did the other whites when I actually let them loose. But now that they're strictly breeders, I keep them locked up. These blacks have always been pretty good little spinners. Probably the first to come into the spin, and even into doing some other extra stuff too. The blacks have always been my most consistent birds. You can see the ribbon a bit better, I hope. I really like this bird. Again, I've never flown him. I flew some of his parents. I haven't flown him, but he does like to do the flips in the yard, or at low altitudes. But he's never been dangerous for sure. Now these 2 cockbirds I do consider my 2 best performance cockbirds, and they are going to be the real foundation of most of the line. Most of the other hens will be mated to these 2 cockbirds over time. Right now he's mated to his daughter, who's in there right now. You probably can't see her sitting on the nest box, but they were locked up until the first eggs hatched. And the second pair, this one here with his mate, who is another really good flyer, a nice check hen, which is actually the sister to the cockbird I just showed you. this guy really flew good, and so did she, so that's why I got them together for this season. I've had this cockbird on a couple other hens and really have had poor success, so I'm really hoping it'll come out with this check hen that is a sister to my favorite, which is this guy here, Casanova. I hate calling him my favorite because as soon as I do that, something happens to him. I've had that happen to me so many times. Hopefully not this time. And this is my young bird Loft. I just changed it over so those nest boxes you see there are going to a friend. I kept 5 nest boxes in there just for dummy eggs for my droppers and my white homers. And at least I don't have to worry about any interbreeding because I'm not letting anybody breed in here. It's strictly young birds and my droppers and a couple white homers that I like to use for family and friend funerals, and just generally love pure white birds. So there's my 2 pure white homers, and this guy over here is my favorite dropper. I just love this bird. He reminds me of what I grew up with as Indian fantails, even though he wouldn't be considered a good Indian fantail. This is almost, for me, my perfect Indian fantail. He's got short feathers on his feet, nice little top hat, nice little tail, and he flies actually quite well. Just a cool bird. I hope I can breed a couple more like this. A friend of mine actually bred this, and I liked it so much, and he had a few of them, so he gave me one, and maybe I'll get a hen to match with him because he's such a cool bird. He's a great dropper. And I also keep a 3-bird kit in here that is made up of 3 birds that all are pretty good flyers, but they don't like to kit with the rest of my kits, so I put them together and I'm experimenting with them, trying to get them to kit together. And if they don't, then they'll just be kept as droppers or to bring young birds at home. There's that one, and then I have this nice white one. She comes off the stuff from Holland, and the black is probably one of my better performers consistently, but he doesn't like to stay in the kit. He likes to be a free bird, and so far I've had him flying really good with the red that I just showed. They'll both stay up in the air and fly quite high together just as a pair, but his hen is just so lazy, and the only reason I keep her is because I need her as a mate, and I do like the look of her, but time will tell. Eventually she might be given away. We'll see. And here's my favorite colored homer that I've had. I've had this line for probably 20 years. He's the only one I've kept now so far, just as a pet, and he has a beautiful mate that is actually a half sister, and I have bred off them together, and they produce nice looking youngsters. I don't know where she went. She's hiding on me. I think that might be her there. And this is my 2 kit boxes. I honestly don't try to put more than 10 birds tops in here, and it's hard to get, for me anyhow, so far in the short time that I've been flying these birds, I haven't been able to get even 10 what I consider good quality flyers. I keep the cockbirds on one side and the hens on the other, and I'm just trying, this is what I'm trying to achieve and slowly develop. Is I'd be perfectly happy to have 6 or even 8 at the most cocks and 8 hens separate that are what I consider good flyers and good performers. So we'll see how that goes over the next few years. I'll show you the birds inside. And these are the 5 cockbirds that I've kept. 1 or 2 might be 2 years old, and the rest are yearlings from last year, and they're starting to perform. Still not as good as I hoped. The black again is probably the best one in there, and he is quite a performer. I'd like to see him do a few more, maybe a little deeper rolling, but he's still a keeper as far as I'm concerned. He'll always be in this kit until I actually get something that's better, and I got a feeling that's going to be quite a few years yet. This little slate I'm a little disappointed in. His dad was a really good spinner, and just all around performer. He's just done a couple flips so far, and this will be his second season flying, so hopefully if he doesn't get better by this season, I'm sure he'll be replaced, but I'm hoping he will. This one's coming along really good. He's off my top, what I consider my top breeder, which I'm going to show you in a bit, but he's starting to perform, and I just like the look of him on top of it all. And he's a cross between my original family and the stuff from Holland. I think he'd make a good showbird too, but maybe I'm wrong. And this little yellow almond, I guess you'd call him. He's doing quite well too. Still hasn't done as much again as I'd hoped, but I always like to give him a second season to come into their hopefully potential. That's another almond that I have. And it's funny because the almonds, when I first started, they were actually my best birds. That's why I kept that almond line going. Obviously, maybe I've done something wrong, but we'll see. These guys, again, are just yearlings, so I'm waiting to see how good they do. And this is the hen side, and I honestly only have 3 birds in here. This particular bird is probably the best yearling that I've got so far that I'm flying. I have locked a couple up that I thought had this much potential, possibly more. At the end of last season, they just came into the performance a little sooner. But this hen is doing really well, and it's hard to keep her in the air because I just want to breed off of her. But I'm gonna, because I have so many breeders right now, this bird will continue to be in the kit of hens, just hoping that, you know, she doesn't get lost or hurt or something, you know. And the other black is up there, and of course all my blacks are related. They're either half sisters, cousins, whatever. This bird's quite energetic, does a lot of just single and maybe possibly dual flips, but that's her main thing. But she loves to fly, and that's another characteristic I have to have. And this hen here, I call her Sparky because she's so hard to catch, and she hoots at me quite often. But again, she's just a yearling. As far as, like, she's a beautiful bird and she flies great and she's doing a lot of dropping and stuff, but I don't think I'd ever breed off her just because she has a weird keel on her, and maybe that wouldn't pose a problem, but because I've got more hens to choose from, I probably won't breed off her. Just keep her in the kit because she's a great bird. And what I found is, and what I like about her too, is she's mismarked, so she's really easy to spot even when I've flown her with like 10-12 birds. And I very seldom fly that many birds except for young birds, because I don't have a choice. I don't have the time to put into them. But basically I'm just trying to build a good hen kit and a good male kit, and possibly another 3-bird kit. And then anything else I either will give away or use as breeders if I need to update my breeding. But like I've said in other videos, I want to try and get down to 6 pairs of breeders and really concentrate on the best that I have. And I believe that the ones that I do give away still have that potential, but it's going to be up to the person that takes them to put the time in, just like I have.